What's going on, guys? I'm back with another one. And I just watched a movie called Wrath of Man, starring my boy, Jason Statham, Josh Hartnett, and Neum Algar. She's been in a lot of big things lately. A lot of big things. Kudos. First of all, let's discuss Jason Statham's career. He was always, or used to be, one of my favorite promising action heroes. Alright? And I've always thought, I still do, that he should be the next James Bond. If nobody else. He got his start with a couple of Guy Ritchie movies like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, which I still have to go back and rewatch those. I kind of forgot what they were really about. But, you know. What really caught my eye was when he jumped into the Transporter trilogy. Alright. And then he followed up with Crank, which was a crazy, out of control, entertaining movie. Alright. Not too soon after that, he put out a couple more, decent action movies. And then he started doing movies that made me lose respect for the brand of character that he is. Okay? Let's just say that. Some I did watch. I still watched, but I just knew that this wasn't the one we started out with. This ain't the Jason I originally know. So now he has the movie Wrath of Man. And he's right back in the Guy Ritchie arena. So the question is, will this be his great return? Can he take us back to the old school Jason Statham? Let's find out. Let's go. Wrath of Man. For those who don't know, for those who are not aware, I think you should know. All right. Apparently, this is on HBO Max, and I have it, and I didn't see any advertisements for this. So that really took me by surprise. So it has to be known to somebody that this is out. I'm sure of it. Wrath of Man. It's pretty much about a guy named H, who used to do some odd jobs back in the day, robbing the robbers. So what? They always called him when they wanted something done. I know it sounds a little cliche like some of his other movies, but this might be a little different. His name was H. The letter H. Nothing else. One day he brought his son to one of the jobs. I have no idea why he did that, but that's what he did. And apparently his life was taken. Let's just put it like that. His son's life was taken because of that mistake and that decision. And of course, H never forgot that. And he was injured in the process himself. So now we fast forward to now. He's working for a sort of a Brinks truck company where he has to train in order to prove that he can protect himself and the money. All right. Now, for some reason he's working at that Brinks truck company, and it's not just to find a job. All right. That's very obvious. There's plans of revenge in his mind, obviously. And that's pretty much the whole premise of this movie. Now, positives. I'm going to have to say this real quick. I've never had to bring this up for a movie. But weirdly enough, oddly enough, I enjoyed the fact that when he started working at this Brinks truck company, or it's not really a Brinks truck, but it's something else. The criteria, or the work environment, let's put it like that, the work environment, very hostile. A very hostile work environment for that company. As soon as he got there, people were trash talking him left and right. And I have to admit, the amount of trash talk in this movie is highly entertaining. So funny. I think it was meant to be amusing. It obviously was. But his character really had the quick comebacks for everything that was thrown at him. And I think that's what shook the cage. That really shook the cage with these other workers. They didn't like that at all. Okay, so that made them close in on him even closer. All right. So every comeback, every witty remark, I laughed. If nothing, I was waiting for the next remark, the next snappy repar, as I would say. All right, so I love that. Another thing about this movie that I loved, all right, the action. And it's not just any type of action for this movie. This movie had sort of an intense type of action. Like, how may I explain this? When the action was occurring, when it was going on, it made my heart beat. I could feel my heart beat. Because I just wanted to see what was going to happen next. The way that his character carried himself, like the way that he was just taking people out left and right. Heartless. His character was heartless. H was one of the coldest anti-heroes I've seen in a while. And I think that's why I enjoyed the action in it. He was definitely an anti-hero. He was not your run-of-the-mill type of guy for this movie. Okay, he was cold, calculating, didn't care about the repercussions of what he did. He just wanted to get to the facts and get this over with. Find out why he has no son anymore. Right? It burned a hole in his heart, and you could tell. And he took no prisoners when he did his investigations. Right? And you could feel it. You could feel it with every step that he took, that he was not going to stop until he found out the truth. I respected every minute of that, because I understand, you lose a child, you're bound to go ape-esque. You know what I'm trying to say here? You're bound to go ape. And he went ape. All right? A third positive about this. Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't said this in a while, but this movie has a Greatrit. Remember the Greatrits? I can't mention who this Greatrit is, whether it's a man or woman, or how they pop up in the movie. But just know, this character, even though you might hate this character to the bitter end, this character is well needed within this movie. All right? And I'm here to back that up. You're going to need this character in the movie. All right? It makes it all the worth towards the end. I can honestly sit here and say that, because of the things that this particular character does. And I like the fact that when this character is introduced, they really don't focus on this character being of any true importance until it has to hit you all at once. All right, so just keep that in mind. You know something's up. All right, you know something up when it comes to it. That's all I can say. That's all I can say about that. Let's get to those negatives. All right. I think one of my first negatives has to be the fact that this movie had so many time jumps in it. It didn't really go in chronological order, of course, and I can deal with that sometimes. But I think I was in the middle of watching this movie, and it jumped back to the future. I mean, it jumped to the past to explain his story from detail to detail. And I had no idea it had made that transition. So I was completely confused and thrown off, of course. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, hold on. Did he just flashback? I can't tell. You know, they have those movies that have the 2 weeks later, 1 month back, 2 weeks ago, 3 years later. It had a lot of that too. It had a lot of that to the point where you really have to keep up. And I felt myself having to keep up a lot with this movie. So I had to get a pinpoint in the movie where I could stop and be like, okay, I'll know this is a flashback if this happens. And that's pretty much how I caught myself back up. You have to catch yourself back up. That's how many times this movie fast forwards and rewinds itself. So be aware of that. Be aware of that. Know that that's going to happen. Another negative that I realized about this movie. There's a reveal. Of course there's going to be a reveal in this movie. It's kind of in the middle of the movie, but it's a reveal that, in my opinion, was rather weak. Now, I told you I have the secret power to kind of spot what the twist is going to be most of the time. I think with this one, I definitely saw that one coming miles away. As soon as they mentioned a certain thing within this movie, I knew. I predicted. I was like, oh, it's gonna be that. It's gonna be that. Has to be that. And I was pretty much right, because there were not a lot of things to pick from. Put it like that. People to pick from when it came to that. Do remember that he's investigating. It's highly obvious. It comes to an obvious point where they try to make things not so obvious. You know, you got to watch out for that too. Okay? So I pinpointed that immediately. My powers are at full effect. Alright? And I think a last thing that I have to mention for a negative with this movie. Now, of course, this is a movie of revenge and payback. Alright? Now, for a majority of this movie, I said that action was intense, right? So he's messing people up left and right through this whole movie. Now, when he actually gets his revenge, the final revenge that he needs, he gets it. Of course. But, in my opinion, it was very underwhelming. When you have that much pain inside you, and the wrath of a man, anger, I think that I would believe that I would want to go all out. I want to go all out for that finale. Okay, there's no telling what I'm going to do. This is not. My head won't be steady. Probably, I'll be so angry, and people are going to get really messed up. It's going to be really brutal ending. Trust me. And so that was my issue. The ending was not as brutal as I thought it would be. He gets this revenge, trust me. But I think there was a point to the reason that it wasn't as brutal as I thought. I'm not going to say what happens and what took place and whatever it is, but there was a reason for that. I believe so. Kind of a poetic ending. But still, I don't care. I want people to get jacked up. Mess them up. Let that rage fly, bro. That's what I was waiting for. Didn't quite happen like that. But I don't care, man. I'm still giving this a hell yes. This movie was out of sight, man. And I haven't said that in years throughout anything. This movie is incredible. It's incredible. Jason Statham is back. Bro, my advice to you, Jason, stay with Guy Ritchie when it comes to the movies being directed. Guy Ritchie is your man to go to. Okay? You and Guy Ritchie work like Samuel L. Jackson and Quentin Tarantino. Okay? Y'all go together like that. Stick with this dude. You'll go places. You'll keep relevant. You keep doing movies with this man. I want you to press that like button. Share this video. If you haven't subscribed, you better do that.